Just a quick video clip. Lots of people have been asking how I make loose incense, so this is how I do it. I use a pestle and mortar. If you don't have one, you can use just a bowl and the end of a rolling pin. You'll need something fireproof to burn your charcoal disc in. I'm going to light it now because it takes a couple of minutes to heat up. It can be temperamental, especially if your charcoal's old. I'm not sure there is a knack to it. I think it's just luck as to whether it lights or not. Tongs are quite handy, unless you like to melt your fingernails. You need to get some sparks going. I think we might be nearly there. Right, we'll leave that just to do its thing as you would a barbecue. I usually put 3 ingredients in my incense. I start with resin because it gives a good base and it helps the ingredients of the incense to burn longer. If you just chuck a handful of dried herbs on the charcoal, it will disappear within seconds and it generally won't smell of anything. One of my favourites is benzoin, but I also like to use frankincense, and copal is very good as well, although it's not quite such a strong scent. Be careful with resin, it makes lots of smoke. Then I like to use a wood of some sort. It might be cinnamon. Sandalwood also works very well, as do the woody spices such as star anise or cloves. They work very well as well. Any seeds, cardamom pods work well as well, again because they're quite woody and they burn longer. Rosemary stalks work well as well. Then you can go with any of your dried herbs or dried flower petals. They aren't necessarily going to smell. If you're making a rose incense, rose petals don't smell when they burn. You will have to add a few drops of essential oil. Dried peel works as well. I've got some dried orange peel here because it's quite brittle. That burns and that does give quite a nice scent as well. So let's start. Start with my resin. Some people like to grind their incense to a powder. I like to keep mine a little bit more chunky. I find it takes longer to burn. That's the resin. Then I'll add some wood to it in the form of cinnamon. I'm also going to put some of this orange peel in. If you're going with an intent for your incense, whether it is prosperity, cleansing, whether it's for a particular deity, go with your intuition. Look in your herb cupboard, look in your kitchen cupboard, see what spices and herbs and dried flowers jump out to you that mean that intent. If it is for a specific intent, it isn't always going to smell nice. It's the intent that's important. Going to put some star anise in here as well. That does have quite a strong scent to it. But what I built here with the resin and the woods and the seeds is quite a strong base to help it burn longer. I'm going to add some flower petals. They will burn very quickly, they won't smell, but they have their magical properties. So put some marigold petals in there, dried ones. The dried ones will burn better than fresh ones. I'm also going to put some sage in here, again dried. It's always a good idea, if it's your first time, write down what you're putting in, write down the quantities, and then how well it smells, how well it burns, and you'll have some idea for the next time. Right, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a squish. Not much. A, because I'm lazy. Grinding pieces of cinnamon and star anise to a fine powder would take quite a long time. But it's your choice. If you are using it for something magical, as you grind it, you can chant. But I'm going to leave it like that. Let's see how our charcoal's doing. The charcoal started to go grey on the bits that are hot. So if I put a petal on there, you'll see how quickly it burns. Seconds literally, and it's gone. Please make sure you burn incense in a well ventilated area, because some of it makes a lot of smoke. Let's put a bit of resin on there and you will see. The resin actually melts, but it does produce quite a lot of smoke. So let's put a sprinkling on there. Don't chuck the whole load of incense on the charcoal brick all in one go, because you'll smother it. Do a little sprinkle, let it burn, then another sprinkle. I only make small batches because you don't need very much. If you want to make up a larger batch for gifts or to keep for next time, just keep it in an airtight container. If you want to add a few drops of essential oil, do it now and then store it, and it will improve the scent of it. But I've got the cinnamon on there now. I can smell the cinnamon burning. I can smell the resin, and the orange peel is just about starting to burn as well. Sage also has quite a strong scent. It's one of the herbs that does smell when you burn it. But it's your choice. Put on it whatever you want to. If you've got a garden, save all the seeds, save all the flower petals and the leaves, dry them all. They make excellent incense ingredients. If you don't have a garden, have a look in your kitchen cupboard. Any of the dried herbs and spices that come from the supermarket are brilliant. If you've got a local Asian supermarket, they are fantastic for finding huge bags of herbs and spices for not very much money. The supermarket ones are fine. I don't tend to use the more unusual ingredients. I tend to use whatever's to hand. I don't want to spend lots of money on some unusual ingredient when I've got something in the cupboard that will work just as well. If you're smudging the house, carry your incense around very carefully. I have melted spots in my carpet because some of it does spit, and you can waft it with a feather or with a fan or just with your hand. Make sure you get it in all the corners of the house if you're smudging. If you're using it for spell work or just in ritual, make sure you've got it on a surface that it's not going to damage. And that's basically it. Very simple. 3 ingredients: resin, wood and herbs or flowers. And go with your intuition. Put whatever you want to put in it. Keep an eye on it though. And once it's finished burning, you can bury the remains of the charcoal and any of the herbs in the garden, or just throw them to the winds should you feel carefree. And that's about it.